it's weird. Actually, let me back up and say, okay, so it's gonna be a year as of tomorrow, right? Whoever's listening to this, as of tomorrow, it'll be a year since I got the transplant, right? The kidney transplant. And then as I seen this, I don't know if people believe in a higher power or whatever goes on, or I don't know, but it seems like in the last year or two, there's just been people that comes back and around into your life, and it's like giving it another chance, another go at, like, at least for me, it started to feel like there's another go at being able to repair relationships, or go for or improve on relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, well, we left off here. Where we're gonna go now? You know, let's improve this or go further. I don't know. I don't know if that's ever felt that way for you, but it seems like people disappear and then all of a sudden pop out of nowhere. Like, what in the world? Back into your life. But that's what I feel like in the last year, especially the last 2 years, but especially in the last year. Um, and so seeing him and being able to talk to him, and even though, like, I haven't talked to him in almost, what was it, 2007 when they did that, right? That show. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
say,
2000. Yeah, seven.
like, 2005, 2006, and then haven't really talked to him for almost 15 years now, right?
Almost.
But when I was talking to him, it wasn't like
15
like
years
he
past.
didn't remember, like, it wasn't like he didn't know who I was.
Hmm.
So that was cool, but definitely excited to see what he goes and what's the next level for his journey in his life and whatever goes on.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting, exciting time though. I feel like for us, even when the economy's like all jacked up, the world's going crazy. I feel like there's this weird, exciting thing that's about to pop off.
It's just great. It's just great energy. I think just being able, like the stuff you mentioned, just being able to reconvene and, get together, whether if it's for, a long period, short period, blip in the radar. I think the older I get, kind of what you were saying earlier about, when a year elapses, the last 2 years, it felt like, the characters that are coming back into the fold, could pose, the more repairing or more growth. Uh, yeah, and as I get older, I start to think about that. I think just because of the way I see things now, it's like this is I'm the character in the game, and this isn't by happenstance. Like, these people are entering the game because there is something that's supposed to happen. I don't know what, but it feels exciting as long as I kind of keep on trying to, maintain that energy, or at least trying to identify it a little more better, I guess, and try to stay within that, as they say, pocket. Um,
Yeah,
with individuals, because as it gets older too, we realize that, obviously time is of the essence, all the cliche stuff. And we have to look at each other like, yeah, these moments are very cool. And when time elapses, it's like, I don't know where the time went, man, but what's up? Like, I'm here, I'm me. Let's do something or something. And it could be sustained and it could be long, like kind of what we have going, or it could be really short lived. Like, hey, I just able to visit, and that's ding, ding, ding. That's at least like 3 5 years. Like, oh, it's a good time. Like, that's just kind of our timing system, and shit like that.
yeah,
Like, I like that. And yeah, I identify with that as well. I think that I'm trying to be better at doing that. I think kind of our spark and kind of being able to finesse this into this nice run. Um, it's been really fun. A lot of growth for myself. Some of the most important things in my life have gone on. So, and you're just right there, and we're doing this shit weekly. Like, oh, this is. It really feels like Wayne's World or some weird shit like we're doing. Like, we're
yeah.
just getting
Wayne's
together and
right.
just because the
Yeah,
world don't exist outside of us, it feels like we're just playing basketball all over again. Like, I couldn't tell you what the fuck was actually going on in the world during, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade or some shit. It was just about hooping and girls and hip hop. Like, that's all. Like, that's all it was about.
yeah. Or NBA Live '95. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
When that came out,
hey, hey.
playing
What team
that.
did you
Yeah,
use? What team did you use?
I don't even, maybe Orlando, but at one point I started using the Warriors because I was like,
Oh, so good.
I remember like using, I think, was
Spiro.
it Billy Owens? Owens
Oh,
under us
Billy
pretty
Owens. Yeah,
well.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and it was like something about the team I actually enjoyed in the game, even though they weren't ranked really high. I was like, these guys are actually good, And I wanted to say, no, I think Chris Webber was already gone by that time.
No, he was in that game.
But I mean, like, I don't know if he was on the Warriors though, because he only
Oh,
stayed with the
not with
Warriors for
Billy
like a
Owens.
year.
Yeah,
He
not
only
with
stayed
Billy
at the
Owens.
Warriors
Yeah,
like a year or so or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
1 year. God damn
but
it. Fucking the Warriors.
like a year and a half or something like that.
No, it's literally a year because that's when he fucking him and what's his face? Don Nelson wasn't feeling it because he was trying to play power forward. And Nelson was like, no, I need you to play center, homie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
See,
what I
and
was like,
that's funny. I like that you said that because remember, I think a couple podcasts ago, I said Chris Webber was the beginning of the prototypes power forwards that we know now. And I wanted to say he was the beginning stage of that. People like, well, not people, but I like even though he wasn't Dirk Nowitzki or sometimes Kevin Garnett, I think it was the beginning of someone who was like above 6'8", being a power forward. You know what I'm saying? And not like we had other people like the Twin Towers, but usually it was like two centers or Chocolate Thunder is like really, but like one that was mobile, active, pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? Very agile.
Could pass,
Can pass, can dribble.
handle. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, bro.
A solid elbow jumper. I mean, and I could be
Mhm.
wrong because I actually as I say that might have been Karl Malone,
No, that
but
elbow jumper, it was more top of the key. Malone had that elbow jumper. I think Weber
yeah,
had that top of the key. He extended his range late in the game because his knees were fucked up. So he had that
yeah.
nice like 17 footer and shit, like 16, 17 footer from the top. That was like
Mhm.
classic. Cause like him and Divock together were crazy. They would average at least like seven, almost 7, 8 assists a game together. How
Yeah.
crazy is that? Like that offense is dope. Like shouts out to Rick Adelman and Steve or Pat Carrill, Pete Carrill, was that who it was? Princeton offense, backdoor shit
Oh
all
man,
day.
I want to say it's Pete Carroll, but I don't.
Yeah,
Pete Carroll, I feel like is the UFC, but
yes,
it
yeah,
was
but it
one of
was
those
Carrill,
guys
old
like
dude. Anyways,
yeah,
that offense, that Princeton offense shit, I think that backdoor stuff, like that that was a cool brand of basketball. But I was a Weber fan, de facto Kings fan. That's why I was like, I'm not torn. I'm really a Golden State fan, but I fucking loved Weber when we got him because it was like, oh shit. In Penny Hardaway, I was like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like 3 shooting guards? Which I was like,
yeah.
I was cool with. But then, nope, right for Chris Webber, I was like, oh shit, we got Chris Webber.
It was a
Oh,
fleece moment though. It was a fleece moment when you look back at it. The
well,
Orlando
yeah,
Magic fleeced them. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because they always would have penny, but they're like, we're gonna do that and then fleece the whole pick and switch it out.
it's crazy,
Um, but yeah,
so
because I
crazy.
remember, because Magic was my team for sure.
Yeah,
I was a Penny and Shaq fan, but I
that was
always
so
liked the
good.
Lakers. Always loved the Lakers, but it was like even more convincing when
Yeah.
Shaq went. I was like, okay,
Oh,
but
you must have been fucking juiced.
it was a mixture, right? Because I like Penny Hardaway was
Oh, you were
I loved
more Penny
I
fan
loved
than me.
Magic, right? I was a Magic fan, right? And I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
the
yeah.
Lakers. But this was the time I'm living in Sacramento. Actually, let me take that back. I was a basketball fan. Lakers were my favorite team. I also liked the Kings. I just like basketball. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that's
So I
true.
didn't really
Yeah.
care.
Both
But mainly
sides.
the Lakers were my team, right? It wasn't where it became like a visceral hate. And so like
The
it
cowbells.
was, yeah, it's the cowbells and 96, 97 or
All
whatever
the bandwagon
between that
fans and
time
shit.
of the Lakers or of the
No,
Kings.
the Kings.
Yeah, so because I was like, I lived in Sacramento and there was a basketball team. I'm like, cool, basketball, right?
Oh yeah, Wayman
But it
Tisdale,
was, but
fucking Bobby Simmons, all the motherfuckers.
I,
Tyson.
I didn't like love the Kings, but I didn't hate them. You know what I'm
No.
saying? I was like, it was like more like, hey, there's a team I liked. Oh, at one time, Spud Webb was on the team, which was one of my
Yep.
favorite players, just
Hell
because
yeah.
he was
The dunk
able to
contest.
dunk and it gave me hope and belief that you can do certain things, right?
That was
And
probably
so
my
you're like,
favorite first Kings player for real. That full time.
yeah, and then so you watched it, enjoyed it, but it was like I said, I liked Magic, man. I didn't. There wasn't a lot of teams that I absolutely hated, other than maybe the Bulls.
Uh,
And it was like weird because like the only time I rooted for the Bulls was when they played against Utah, and I always knew like Michael Jordan was good, right? And you watched them, but there was something like I was like, I just wanted to like vote for other people, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back, so it was Penny, right? Because Penny was reminding me of Magic Johnson. At one time, I thought they named Orlando Magic after Magic Johnson because that's how great he was. That's what I thought when I was younger.
I thought so too.
But then you realize it's pretty much tied to Disney. But it's not Disney, but it is. You know,
Yep. Just kind of tailgating off of that good branding out there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good team though. That was a highly sought out team, man. Like O'Neal and Penny coming off of blue chips. How crazy is that? They were trying to make Orlando the new LA and shit.
They really were, and then like, you know, and that was a solid short-lived run, you know, because you know Shaq got his fills, and
Nick Anderson didn't hit those free throws now.
Yo, yeah, like that's the crazy part, right? Like it was, you know, I was talking about mental awareness. Like I think it's weird where a certain thing can happen and you cannot recover for it, right? Nick Anderson, I want to say before that year was a 70 to 80% free throw shooter, right?
That fool was fucking Klay Thompson.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he couldn't hit these shots, right? And never was the same. Was never the same from shooting free throws. He was a knockdown. Like at that time, I remember him, and I, you know, obviously our memory could be different, but like I remember him being a fairly solid shooter, right? Like almost a 3-and-D. Because he still got not Del
3D and could dunk. Dennis Scott.
Was it Dennis Scott, right? 3D can dunk, right? Like in 92, 17 points, 93, 16 points. I had to look it up, right? It
was nice.
Okay, he wasn't, you know, that year, 94, 95, he was shooting 41% from three that year.
Ooh, right? That's what I'm saying. D. Scott was around that percentage too.
I was dead wrong. He wasn't really that good of a free throw shooter. He was a 70% shooter. One year he was 74, 62, but I just remember after that he just like
he disappeared off the face of the earth.
He disappeared from the shots that mattered. You know what I'm saying?
That's tough, man. They were young too. That was a young team. You're talking about, you know, Nick Anderson was like 27, maybe, like in his prime, like years, right? Or maybe even younger. And then you have Penny, you have Dennis Scott, and then you have Shaq, and then I think that was the Horace Grant run, or was that it? But after,
oh yeah, you had the Horace Grant as well came over because that was another issue, right? Because Horace Grant left the Bulls.
Yep.
And then he got he got like cheered off. And that's, I mean, when you look at the Orlando Magic at that time, that was a solid ass team. You know, it was crazy because I felt like as I look at Nick Anderson's stats, when we were a kid, it seemed like he was way better than what the stats. So it's funny what you remember, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought he was, I just remember him feeling like he was a good, solid player, you know.
I think because at the time, like the Orlando Magic was like the team for the NBA. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's imagine, all right, who's kicking it in you know, jersey sales. Oh, Orlando got noise. All right, let's bump them up to prime time. Let's get them coverage. So then their story's on display. You know, they go deep into it.
Yeah.
This is Ahmad Rashad over here hanging out with Nick Anderson at his house. Like, oh shit, we're getting like, you know, the story now. You know what I'm saying? And then it leads up to the breakup, and then, you know, the finals, and then how it all falls apart. And, you know, it's just shit like that. I was like, damn, that is a story that, you know, one of those what if things.
Sorry, I'm wrong. I looked at it wrong. He was solid. Look, so I looked at it wrong. He shot 19 in 91, 92, 19 points a game, 92, 93, 19 points a game, 93, 94, 15. And then after that was like 95, 96, 14 points a game. Then it started dwindling down. Because I was looking at Dennis Scott, and Dennis Scott was like, he was a 40% three-point shooter.
Ooh, that's what I'm saying. That team was built.
Dude, yeah.
Nicely.
And
but yeah.
Who else did they have on there? Like
on the bench?
Scott Skiles, right?
Scott Skiles, yeah. That was one of my first like basketball cards, I think. That was like from a new pack of it was that basketball card where there wasn't even a border. It was just the whole card was just the action picture. You know what I'm saying? And it was Scott Skiles and shit. It had like gold writing. And then I remember he was in NBA Jam, and I was like, this fool can shoot threes. This fool's the new Mark Price.
Yeah, right. That's
Good time.
crazy. Just look at,
Good time.
but yeah,
Good time.
I was a huge Orlando fan, and like even now they're talking about releasing the first penny shoes, and I'm just
Yeah.
like I already put it in my head. It was like if I can't get them, I'm getting them on StockX. I don't care. That's how much I
Man.
want them. That's how
Isn't that
bad.
how crazy how they're doing that to us? How do they do this to us?
I well, like that. Like here's the thing. Like all the other shoes, I'll be like, fuck it. I'll wait. I don't give a shit, right?
Uh,
But the pennies and what it means to me is like, uh, I guess I gotta
are you
if
getting
I
the
can't get
original
them.
color? You're talking about the one
I'm
that
trying
you
to get the
had, right?
black. If they have the black and blue ones, I'm getting those.
Is that the one you had, the first one with the big ass
Yes,
like whale like side and then the blue Nike symbol? Oh,
yes,
I love
yes.
those shoes. Those are so dope. Oh my god.
So dope, bro. Like,
Oh, what's the oh okay. When do they drop?
well, they pushed them back, but I think they're gonna come out in August.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, let me try to check it out.
Oh man. See, to me, the NBA got smart. I think that we were talking about winning time, and when David Stern kind of we alluded to that idea of like NBA being like
Mhm.
TV drama series in a way, and then for him to in the '90s, be able to have like kind of that run, especially post Michael, like what the fuck they gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And then to have Orlando Magic be this promising duo and on the verge of championship, like oh shit, like they about to be a young ass team that wins, and then it just all falters, and then jealousy kicks in, injuries kick in, uh and then from there it seems like okay, cool, we could use that storyline again. Stephon Marbury, Kevin Garnett, like damn, this is now become a classic
dude.
story.
I remember I moved to wait, no, because they were a rookie that one year, and I remember like
Yeah, that
we
was a
were
good one.
excited, and then when I moved away, we were still keeping in contact.
Mm.
Actually, it's funny because I still remember when I moved away and I called you on your birthday. I was like, "You remember my birthday?" I was like, "Yeah." It was close to my mom. I want to say it's in September. I
Yeah.
still remember it's in September. I won't say the date for people listening, but who cares? But anyway,
There you go. That's my
um,
guy.
right. But I remember calling you saying you still remember, but we would hit each other up like, "Yo, like I'm so excited for Minnesota, bro. Like
Oh yeah,
Barnett and Marbury, the
dude.
future of this is going to be so
Oh,
nasty."
oh my
And then it
God.
blew up like in a year later or something.
It wasn't. Yeah, I don't even think they played more than a season together.
There were times where I'm like, I think Stephon Marbury might be better than Allen Iverson as a point guard,
Ooh,
man.
dude,
As a
coming
point
out
guard,
there, that was a debate, bro. That was a big debate.
like he was bigger, stronger,
Hmm.
um,
It was
but
nice with it.
like as a point guard, I liked him more. And then it turned into something different. And it was like, well, you can't outdo Iverson how Iverson does it,
Yeah, that's true.
like
Oh man, Steph, man. But I mean, to be honest, to his credit, his legacy is amazing. Just his whole story
bro,
is like, what? Who
bro,
would have ever
like
thought?
arguably, I guess because he doesn't have enough accolades, he
Mm,
does. He's not a Hall of Fame player. But when you look at like what he's done out through his career, 19 points a game and 7.6 assists, that's a solid ass career.
man, to me, fuck the Hall of Fame. NBA don't fucked up like that. That they should have did was just accept the game as a whole and Steph Marbury be like top 5 for sure. Just because of
Well,
at the time and one. So he got credit in both worlds at that time. And before that, he was a
yeah,
phenom. He was in Slam magazine, that same section that I found out about Kobe. It was Stephon Marbury talking about it. Then he signs with Georgia Tech, has 1 year, kills it at Georgia Tech. But then there's rumors from, oh, dude, they were all supposed to sign at Fresno State or some shit, and they're all supposed to play for Tarkanian, and or whatever the rumors were of how they were supposed to already play in college. So then when they got in the NBA, it was like, oh shit, they about to link up because I think Marbury was coming from no, Milwaukee at the time, right? Didn't he get drafted
yeah.
by
It
Milwaukee?
was a draft trade from Milwaukee. I
Yep.
forgot who went first.
Boom.
I want to say it was Ray Allen got picked first, and it was a trade.
Yep, exactly.
And it's actually funny now you think about it because
Yeah.
the trade and then Ray Allen actually ended up playing with Kevin Garnett, which is a later down the road, which is that whole story of things coming back as
Yep.
but anyway,
But that's the theme of the show, man. That is so funny because this story, if you follow the NBA like that through the times, it's like, yeah, that is interesting. Like, imagine Ray Allen goes on to be known as the New York, basketball player through a Spike Lee joint. And then
yeah,
Marbury's the New York guy that ends up in Minnesota and then only to seek fame and fortune his own route and, breaks up something. Who knows what him and Garnett could have been, man.
and then doesn't get the love from New York people because he
Oh, hell
couldn't
no.
do well, right? From his own people. It's really, I mean, it's although Westbrook is a Hall of Famer, it's really kind of like what Westbrook is going through as a Laker, though. Now, I mean, part of it, like as much I do like Westbrook, part of it for Westbrook is kind of deserved when you like talking all that trash and you're not really backing it up. But and I love Westbrook, man. But come on, dude.
Westbrook's
But
nice.
yeah, like, but even so, because like here's the thing. What the weird part about it is, right? If you have a European player that played Euro ball, then comes to a league, and you're one of the first ones to do it, then you get like Hall of Fame status, right? But then if you're Stephon Marbury, who went to China and became like this icon in China, right? Because it's basketball Hall of Fame, like icon in China, but then he's not going to get Hall of Fame status because of that.
No, that's trippy,
It's just
bro.
one of these weird. It's one of these weird things. Like,
So
how is it?
crazy.
How is it that someone can get overseas international Hall of Fame and it's not the top league, top league? You know what I'm saying?
Come
That
on,
doesn't
man.
make sense to me.
Yeah.
But the world doesn't make sense at all.
That's true,
You
dude,
know?
too. So that's why it's all opinion. That's why when we say shit, I'm like, yo, just that's what you feel. I feel that way because I think about it like he is co-signed by China, he is co-signed by New York, he's co-signed by all and one enthusiast, he's co-signed by the NBA. You can look at his stats, he puts up numbers, a lot of potential to his name.
Yeah.
His story is amazing. You know what I'm saying? So
The
yeah,
the
Steph, that
the
was
only
big,
other
man.
like I mean, in arguably the greatest basketball player of all time
Mm.
is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. When you look at historically and how he ran everything he touched, you know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true.
Like from high school, he was a phenom. College was dominant, and then like
Mm.
it wasn't no magic until he got like his 4 or 5 with him. Actually, no, he had 5, so he had a total of 6, which
Mm.
most people forget because I didn't know before. The only person I remember hearing was Bill Russell, who had more than 6, right?
Mm.
And yeah, Michael Jordan had 6. And then it wasn't. I think it was like not until like maybe 8 or so years ago where I was like, I didn't even know Kareem had 6 rings because he had one at
Mm.
in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but all time, as of right now, the all time scorer, point scorer, which is going to be surpassed by LeBron James, most likely this year.
Ooh, man. How many rings does LeBron got?
He
5?
has 4. So
4.
no, he has
Okay.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
He still got like 5
And
years
that's
left.
where people are like, they're saying Curry's better than LeBron because whatever. And that's hard. It's hard to say for me because like I'm gonna rock with LeBron for sure, but it's different, right? Like Curry has a great team and can focus on one thing, right? And that's scoring. While when you're a great all around person, they rely heavily for you to do everything. And
Mm.
it's just different. It's not to, and this is not to diminish, might sound like it's diminishing Curry, but you have other people who fill in the gaps for Curry so he can do what he does best.
Mm.
Well, LeBron does, and maybe that's also his fault. LeBron does so much that is weighed heavily on what he has to do, you
Yeah.
know? And so
Le-
it's just different.
yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to know what LeBron's legacy is going to be. Because when you look at him, to me, it just reminds me of the player I would make in an NBA, like creative player. Oh,
Right.
99 everything. Like, okay, cool. And then he plays and then he does the stats, and it's like he does it for 20 years. At some point, you're like, I'm just going to do a different franchise. I just want more of a challenge. Not to say, obviously 4 rings to show, and that I think that's more team dynamic, but the player himself, Like
Exactly,
he's a
right?
99 player. Like that's so crazy to me. And he's doing it in an advanced age. Like we're seeing
Yeah.
modern day greatness, like whatever the Kareem run was, like something to that degree. I don't know, obviously different, just different positional, but in the idea that there's a guy that could really just dominate a game at any given moment. And his game has definitely flourished into, like the outside shot is nice. Like he knows how to distribute. It's his game is crazy. I'm just curious to know how people are gonna really view him. Like, yo, what is this thing?
Well, it's just we're definitely in, and I don't, maybe it was always this way, but we're definitely in the age of like hating on people that are not Jordan, right? Or just in general. Like, I just don't understand what more does he have to do in order for people to sit there and just like, it's kind of like Tom Brady. Like, what more he has to do? Can we just shut up and not have to shit on him anymore? What more does LeBron have to do? He's uh number two in all time scoring. You know, like
Oh, it's true.
like almost going on 20 years of the most consistent stat. When I say consistent stat, like you look at his stat, it's literally like 27, 7 to 7,
Yeah,
27, 7
yeah,
to 7,
it's crazy.
27, 7 to
Yeah,
7.
it's crazy.
Oops, had an off year, 25, 7 and 7.
Yeah,
Oh, had a really off year, 25, 10 assists and 7.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like,
For 19 years, bro. 9 times. I feel like
okay,
that.
maybe
What
it's
was it
this,
from?
maybe it's this, then maybe it's this. Okay, who was before Jordan? Like in terms of popularity.
I just think the only one I can think of is, well, Magic and Bird, but
Mhm.
before that was probably Dr. J.
Okay, see, so that's where
That's a Jordan type player. I'll say that.
yes, but see, that's where the NBA isn't really watched yet. So I think where the Jordan shit comes in is because Jordan is the opposite of LeBron in the idea that they both live in different like universes in the time of their
Mm-hmm.
careers. Like there's no social media, different time for Jordan. Than LeBron. Okay, LeBron lives in a totally different era, and
Mm-hmm.
played from high school basically right after high school on till now. There's two different, just kind of situations, so that's why it's like LeBron almost it's impossible to, really overcome that shadow of Jordan, but I think
Mm-hmm.
he'll be appreciated like way down the line.
Yeah, like when you look at it, like he's so Michael Jordan is the greatest based off of like his grit to win, all this other stuff. But like you
Dude,
said, if you were creating a creative player, 6'9", point guard skills,
yeah,
built almost like Shaq. Like
yeah,
like when people talk about who will win 1-on-1, I'd be like, if there was like if Shaq had to play someone 1-on-1, and like I'd feel like LeBron could almost beat everybody 1-on-1 in those little situations, right? And I only say this because, right, he can play Shaq. Now Shaq will post him down low, but it's not like LeBron doesn't have muscle, doesn't
that's
have
true.
athleticism. You know what
That's
I'm
true.
saying?
That's true.
Or he will take him off the dribble, right?
Mm.
LeBron, if Curry would probably beat him because he would stretch to the three, but it's not like LeBron doesn't have solid defense where he is long and he
He's
like we've
mobile.
seen it even in the
Yeah,
we even seen it in the finals where he was like, okay, let me just like he
yeah,
wanted to embarrass Curry. There was
yeah,
that pick and roll where he had the matchup and would just whatever. And anytime Curry tried to get into the lane, he was blocking him. He got it. He took it personal, which
yeah.
I want to see more of that of LeBron. Take it personal. You know what I'm saying?
That used to be the
Um,
NBA.
yeah. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, I enjoy like you already know I enjoy that shit.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know
the
what I'm
mono a
saying?
mono thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm gonna guard their best player, like best player versus best player type shit. Or, at certain moments, but
Take it
NBA is
personal,
different.
man. Like I don't
Yeah.
like take it personal. Like here's the thing. Like I want to play. I'm gonna play hard or whatever. But yeah, take it personal if someone's trying to sit there and because if they're trying to go for your head, it's like nah, no free lunch. I'm gonna let you do any of that stuff. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yeah. I
So
like
yeah,
LeBron, man.
career points second, career playoff points number one, career NBA playoff points number one, career
Yeesh.
regular season and playoff number one. This feels like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Active points well is the number one, so that's kind of stupid because that's like duh.
Yeah. I think LeBron is just gonna be he has to be this guy. It's like the guy after the guy. It's like, who's the second, MLB player of all time, black? Like, oh, I don't know. Jackie Robinson is the first, but then people know that there's other people
Yeah.
before that. So, but Jackie Robinson is the one. Jordan is just the time in the era. It just fit. NBA just, was hitting on all cylinders. It was at an all time high. He was getting off buses and they was following him like Michael Jackson, at least according to the way the media spun it. It was like, yo, man, this dude's the most recognized dude on the earth. Is that
Yeah.
what we're saying? Like Black Jesus for real? He didn't even say anything. He just won. But the NBA did an amazing job telling the story of Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? The minute that they
Oh
got him, they're
yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
this is we have the perfect face of the company. We finally have the guy. And then after that, LeBron is the guy to, kind of
I mean, you
be
haven't
the
had anything
next.
like that after that because you almost had Kobe and then the rape
Mm-hmm.
trial. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But
Mm-hmm.
even then, I never even thought that Kobe was, in my opinion, God rest his soul, R.I.P. to Black Mamba. But I feel like for a very long time he was overlooked by people
Oh
because
yeah.
if it wasn't Allen Iverson, you know what I'm saying, for a
Yeah.
while, then you had Half Man Half Amazing,
Yeah.
right? Because for a while people were enjoying him. Oh, I even forgot not even just Half Man Half Amazing. You had T Mac, who was
Oh
scoring
yeah.
more than
Oh,
him,
T Mac
right?
was
Was going off,
crazy.
right? And then you had this guy, this kid come out of Akron, Ohio, called LeBron James, which
Mm.
is the chosen one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then for a short time, you even had D Wade be outshined. Never got MVP, but outshined him for a
Yeah.
while, you know?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like Kobe didn't get his respect until he was almost it was 10 years in the league. So because he came in '96 and wasn't until pretty much 2008, 9 or something where people were finally like, okay,
Yeah.
he's the man.
Well,
But even
because he
then, he
always
only
had
got
help.
one.
Yeah.
He only had one MVP. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So and be like when he changed the number to 24, going to be better than Jordan. It was all these other things.
Yeah. Yeah. See, but this is where the NBA, the cast of characters, is especially in those eras, uh, like, dude, very interesting because a lot of it's just gonna have to compare to, you know, Jordan. And it sucks
Uh,
because it's like that's the era that we know until until LeBron becomes the status. That's why you're going to start seeing, like we always talk about, oh, 7'3" handle, can shoot from half court, Euro step from
yeah.
the other side. Like, oh, okay.
Check this out. I don't even know if he's still on the team, but if you look at all time NBA scorers, right,
uh,
right, technically the top four were all Lakers,
oh, of
right,
course.
right. You have Cream, LeBron, technically Karl Malone because he broke it, but he was
That's
still
true.
playing for the Lakers when
Yeah.
he started adding more. Then Kobe Bryant, right?
Yep. There you go.
Uh, then Michael Jordan, Dirk Nowitzki. Then the seventh, right,
Mm,
Wilt Chamberlain.
jeez.
That's almost. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top 10 Lakers,
Mm.
right? And then you go a little bit down. You go to the 10th. Oh, who's that? Shaquille O'Neal.
Ah,
Now,
man.
now, check this out too. It's like, okay, so who's 11th, right? Carmelo Anthony, who's a
Oh,
Laker.
jeez.
It's just kind of funny, man. It's like,
It's good for the NBA, man. To be honest, it's just I think it's finally just lean into it. Just be that team, have the
what
fans
part?
that
What
die
part is
hard.
was good? What's good for the NBA? You think?
Oh, like big market teams fucking being, fucking who they're supposed to be. Like right now in baseball, New York is fucking killing it. Both teams are fucking dominating. And then in the West, Dodgers are the number one in the league. That's what fucking brings excitement to all these sports is you get your big market motherfuckers. You put the stars in there. You get you become the beast. Your fan base will love you die heartily because it's like, yo, we win championships. And everybody else is going to hate you just as much. And that's when you're driving the league well because everybody's trying to take you down. And that's what's the good shit
I
about
I
when teams are
I,
thriving.
I always joke around and tell people. I always joke around and tell people the NBA's best when the Lakers are either really good or god awful like they were this year. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, it's
because it
not
gives the NBA
often.
to talk about, right? It
Yeah.
gives usually it's better when they're good. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like because there's a hate. There's a reason
Yeah.
to watch. It's
When
like,
they suck,
ah,
nobody
right.
watches because the
Yeah.
fan base ain't really in like that. And then people who hate on them is like, man, we have nobody else to hate. Yeah, fuck the NBA. The NBA
Yeah.
sucks. You need the villain. It's the classic Batman Joker shit. It's like, yo, man, you need the Joker alive, man, because without him, I ain't Batman. So this must go
Yo,
on.
check this out. What's crazy is
Uh,
Russell Westbrook is 35 in all-time scoring.
there you go. Russell Westbrook. I mean, their stories
This
are
is
going to
all
be
time.
interesting.
So if you just did only NBA, he's 30.
Mm.
Uh, three ex OKC players are in the top 30.
Hey, OKC had it.
Bruh, there were. I mean, as far as raw talent, they definitely drafted better than the Warriors per se. Like as far as you know, like
Yeah.
three MVPs out of that draft, like those drafts.
Yeah. You got to get a specific type of like set of players to, meld together. That's got to be so crazy to like manage egos. Cause like the OKC thing was interesting because you got three dudes that essentially could, handle their own team, obviously. But at the time, you're like, how do you manage that
Yeah,
when they're on the same team? And who knows? That's always going to be one of them debated stories. Like, yo, did Sam Presti fuck that up and just didn't give Harden what he deserved at that time? But then it's hard because he was, playing 6 man, and they just, what was it? They just didn't want to give him the extra money. Like, who knows? But I love the idea of what that could have ever been. And Serge Ibaka fucking getting his thing.
yeah, no,
That team was deep.
yeah. To even Reggie Jackson, people forget like he was on that team too. Like when you
Jackson.
look, so many people on that team that was good, right? And
Yeah,
so,
man.
I mean, maybe it was hard though. It was one of those situations like, well, Westbrook at the time looked more promising with Durant because of his defense ability, his athleticism, his veracity to the game.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I like West. I like Westbrook, so it's just I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like
You like his game
who's
better.
better, Harden or Westbrook? It's hard to say because one person had 4 years of average and triple double. You know what I'm
True.
saying?
True.
So
I mean, all three
what
of
do
them
you
you
want to
could build
say?
around. I think that's kind of like the kicker. I think the thing that makes like the Golden State situation unique is because the two players that are, kind of corner, or the three players are cornerstones. They're not really, their skill sets are so unique. Like the dynamic is strange amongst them. You know what I'm saying? Like you have two.
They're not taken away from each other. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
exactly. Yeah, where the OKC situation, or like any situation where you get really just drafted for talent, or development could go any other way. Just the OKC thing in specific is like, damn, that is crazy because not enough ball to go around to satisfy that. Not to say that was their goal at the time, but they're coming into a situation where damn contracts are going to be up. Like, it's all incentive based. You get your
Yeah,
you get your pay, you get your numbers, man. Like that's really what it is, and that is the NBA in a lot of ways. And I think it's just depending on what side of the career you're on, you'll be on whatever team. That's why when you see those veteran teams stock up, it's like it's cool to see because you're seeing a lot of talent coming together. Like the Lakers when they do that from time to time, become the 35 and older team. It's cool to see because you're just
yeah,
seeing everybody kind of grab a Lakers jersey. It's kind of in tradition in a way now where you know uh that's the ride, especially if the Lakers are going strong. You're like, yo, I'm about to sign that fucking 1 year. What's up? Let's
where
go.
you going? The Lakers play out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When GP got on there and Malone, I was like, I
Oh
hated it, but I
man,
was like, that's cool. I love it. I was like, yo, that's dope though. They're going to go get theirs. Like, yo, they never had one. And best place to do it on Laker
bruh.
Gold.
Like, when you say that, like, I already feel the visceral anger at that time. One, because I was about to go in the Navy, and I was just like, how they lose, and then two, before that, like, not before that, but was like, I still remember being at a particular person's house. Right, we're watching me, you, Marjani, I think Dave was there,
Okay.
watching the Kings and Lakers.
Mhm.
Right, and I'm a Laker fan, and all you guys were talking shit to me that I was just like getting heated, bro. Yeah, I was like, oh, and I hate it because there's nothing I can control. And I remember, I want to say it was that game where it was the halftime Samaki Walker shot, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was when the Lakers came back and won that game. because I remember that, and I came over because I came over during the lunch break because I was working at Round Table, and I think afterwards I came back to finish the rest of the game, and when I saw it win, I came back just to talk shit. But that was like the
That's
visceral anger part where I was like, where like I had a no, I don't think I had it, but I was going to get a Laker flag, and one of the people I worked with was like, "You get a Laker flag, I'll break it off your car." And I say, "You fucking do that, I'll kick your ass." Like I was heated. I was like, "Don't you ever touch my shit!" Like it's one thing to be like, once you start touching like individual stuff, I'm fighting. You know what I'm saying? It's always been my thing. Like I won't mess with your car. I won't do that stuff. You're gonna break my flag because I'm a Laker fan? You're trash. You know
See,
what I'm saying?
people are just strange like that.
And now
Fans
and
and
now
fandom is
and now I
crazy.
have to go get a bat and escalate the issue. You know what I'm saying?
See, all LA fans are like that.
Now I have to escalate
Always want to
the
escalate
issue.
the
You know what I'm saying?
situation. Always
Like
got to
I,
be on top.
like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? Like there's
It is the
certain
Laker
things where you
way.
don't want.
It's all good.
Where yeah, I think it's just a lot of people's ways. Like, don't you dare! Like, okay, now you force me to do this. You know?
It's just strange, but see, that's a good job by the NBA to really. It's like wrestling, bro. It's just you get a draw, whatever it is that is the
Mm-hmm.
characters that play, the drama, however it plays out. It's just good TV, man, and it gets you riled up. It's strange. That's like some energy transfer shit. It's good though, because
Yeah.
that was some real energy. Like you the excitement at a game. You've been to a whole bunch of games. You know when it gets like that atmosphere is so like etherical. It's crazy. It's so consuming, especially if it's a close game or you've been to those fucking games where you're like, oh shit, standing up, cheering. It's like that's some magical shit. And the fact that they're able to convey that, even through fucking television and we're bought in like that. We're sinking in like, yo, oh,
Yeah.
this is everybody has
And
allegiance like that. It's cool.
I was literally talking to another friend about like I was like, why like why do we because it was talk about Vince McMahon retiring, right? And
Oh
we all
shit. Okay.
know
Yep.
and then I forgot what the term was, but it's when you're supposed to sustain a belief that wrestling is real, even though most people know it's not. So it's like you have to do stuff, and until wrestlers break that, like when they break the code and they go out of that and be like, man, whatever, and it's like that's like kind of like the code to not do that. Well, the reason I brought that up is because we were talking about Vince McMahon retiring, and then somehow we're talking about basketball, and then I started to say, kind of what we've been discussing. I was like, why are we so hell bent that if games are not fixed, like what if they are? Like we can accept all other things, right? We can accept all other things in entertainment. We understand that Marvel's not real. We understand that Avatar is not real, or these movies are not real, and even sometimes reality TV shows not real. We're not
Yeah.
sometimes it's like it's not. We
It's
can
not.
understand that, but the
Yeah.
moment pro sports is not real, we have a disgusting feeling to it. And what if it's just like, hey guys, today's based off the analytics today, people will be more upset if this happens today, so we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It draws ratings,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. It draws.
Why is I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I would hate it. I would definitely, obviously, hate it if the Lakers were set up to fail. But this is like, why is it that way? Like stepping outside of myself and my feelings. Like, why are we so upset that we can tell that everything else on entertainment on our TV is fake for the most part, But sports have to be so real, or better yet, like not even just sports, right? Let's just say like in rap too, right? Like some rappers, you're not a real rapper if you don't write your own lyrics, right? There's a lot of singers that don't write their own lyrics, and they're still singers.
Mhm.
They're still artists. You know what? Actors don't write their own plays,
Mhm.
but there's hard set things on certain things that are like, nah, you ain't real. Yeah, I'm just. Uh, whoever's listening, don't mind me. I had a gummy. I'm just playing. I don't take that stuff, but
Yo, but I think you have a point there because, in all honesty, I think the reason why people want it to be what it is because they want to believe that something is of chance, like anything could happen. And
yeah,
the sad possibility is that, oh no, everything is just kind of being fed, spoon fed to you, or at least
Yeah.
trying to control, your behavior in whatever manner. At least that's what I'm thinking in my craziest, mind. Um, but what they can do is just make it good entertainment, once they break that fourth wall. I mean, it's so embedded in its game already, I think they could just lean on just the game itself. I'm not really
Yeah.
big with the kind of, like kind of social justice shit that they're really on, to be honest, because I think it just
Yeah.
kind of demeans the audience, because I think sports doesn't really need it. So obviously there must be something going on with ratings or something, or they think that maybe this will push. But whatever the case is, it's just, just you could build good storylines. The NBA right now is at an interesting point. There's a lot of talent in the NBA. I think with where media is at now, I think it could capitalize on it, and it has a world reach, better than most sports currently in the United States. So
Yeah, yeah, it was
just
it was
work on
weird.
the
I
storyline.
was I was watching something, and I didn't watch this entirely, but the thing was, Mookie Betts had a shirt at the All Star game saying there needs to be more blacks in the stand, right?
Mm.
Like something like that, right? Like he wants to see more of the stand, which then turned into Skip Bayless and whatever talking about. Yeah, is he right? And then there was a part where it's like baseball for some has fallen off. The like the value, like a lot of people have feel like baseball is dying off. Now, I'm not in baseball to sit there and say it is or it isn't. I know that when I was younger, I did watch it, and even when there was a steroid era, I watched it. Right, somewhere down my adult life, I started to stop watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whatever. And I will watch it once in a while, but it's not something. Granted, too, I don't watch basketball as religiously, but it's not something I watch religiously. Or I wouldn't even watch it 2 or 3 times. Like Apple TV now has Friday games, and I checked it out once. I was like, this is cool, and I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that at some point, but then also like right now, right? Let me just get back to baseball. I do pay attention to what's being said. Like the dude from the Angels, the pitcher guy, is one of the greatest we've ever seen in a very long time. From what
Babe
he's,
Ruth,
or at least what they're saying. Yeah, at least what he's saying, like from pitching to smash, right?
modern day
Even
Babe
though I
Ruth,
think,
bro.
even though I keep thinking that what's that kid from? I think he's on Philly now.
Bryce Harper.
Yeah, even though I think Bryce Harper has been a pretty good phenom since he's been in, like he's
Mm-hmm.
smashed it ever since. Like just solid all around player. Because every time I think of like Judge and whatever, I feel like they're one sided. Right?
Ah,
They're definitely bruising on me. They always seem like Bryce Harper was good on both ends.
mm-hmm.
Um, since he was a kid, because he was one of those first ones like went out of high school. Like, and I'm talking about 16 years old. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm going straight here. Anyways, I'm veering off. But the dude from the Angels is like when people were talking about, it's like we've never seen a player like this ever, and that's how amazing he is.
Mm-hmm. Modern day
Uh,
Babe Ruth, man. He pitched and hit like almost 40 bombs in the same season.
yeah,
I'm like, God damn. And he pitched legit. It wasn't no like, oh, I remember Leaf. Like, he had starts and struck out. Motherfucker. He was the real deal. So it was just, it's cool to see. Like, yeah, I don't know the true numbers either. I mean, I think both sports are thriving. It just depends probably what media platform you're following.
mhm.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think all of it should just write it better. Like get some like good writers on there. Like this is what people are watching. And if you would need to keep the veil of illusion, because I think the one thing is this. I'm maybe 90-10 on that. 10% thinking this because sports betting is now becoming more prevalent.
Yeah,
So let's just say maybe the outcome isn't determined, but it's more like a WWE situation for real, where if it's a close game, okay, they could kind of maybe swing it a little bit. If it's a blowout, they're already making plans like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a promo package for this. Here's a storyline we're gonna hit. This and that. Let's just run with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because they have a whole
Yeah, so
production
I
team.
get, I get you saying it's like all right, let's see what happens, and then when it goes a certain way, you see the outcome is like all right, now we're going to lean into this. We're
Yeah,
going as we see this, we're going to kind of force this, but we're not going to do it too where it's like it's well scripted. But what we're going to do is we're going to lead people to a certain thing, and hopefully it plans out. But we will try without meddling with the game to get it to have the Angels and the outfield. Angels on
come
you know
on,
what I'm
man.
saying?
They don't want to make it blatant, but they do have a storyline now. How organic was the Lakers, success, or the Dodgers, or the New York Yankees. Like, it's storied. It's before our time, a lot of these legacies. So we just kind of accept it. We don't really look into it. I'm not over here like rocking, dude, Bob McAdoo, bro. You see them highlights, man? Bob McAdoo killing it, bro. Or fucking, what I'm saying? Like, oh, Lou Alcindor when he was at UCLA, I'm watching replay. I don't watch it like that. I see some highlights, but I don't watch it like I'm fanning because it's all in today. Like, what are we watching today? So that's why I'm thinking about, like, dude, I think that they leave it up to chance and they have it covered because the more characters the game has, the better storylines you could draw. That's why I would like,
Yeah.
MLB for a casual fan to hear Otani and to hear even Bryce Harper as of now is crazy because there's a whole new sleuth of like new players. But I mean, obviously those are like enthusiasts that are into them, but these motherfuckers are signing like 10-year deals. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, there is some
Yeah.
fun players coming up.
Because
Like, they are fun,
because
bro.
Angels sign whoever for 10 year for like whatever, and they're talking about the Japanese dude to almost surpass it, like almost get like
Oh,
600 million for a 10-year deal. You know what I'm saying? And first of all,
easily.
the 10-year deal is ridiculous, right? Like in basketball, you're like, oh, 4 years, whatever. You're like, hey.
Yeah.
Then again, Magic Johnson had like a lifetime deal for like 20-year deal for $1 million at that time. But
Wow.
but like 10-year deal, yeah, 600 million. I'm gonna play for this team. And it's crazy because that's like, and the major league is like, yep, we're going to do this 10-year deal and we're gonna stick with that, right? But like who was the other dude? Because Tatis or whatever,
Oh
like
yeah,
that
Fernando
guy, like,
Tatis,
and
yeah.
he's another second generation baseball player
Legacy
though,
player, yep.
right?
Legacy,
Legacy
yeah.
player.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, he got like I feel like I think for me, why baseball kind of fell off is like, yeah, at least for me, for me, and maybe to people of color or whatever, black people, is that it doesn't have swag. But then when you see Tatis and some players are like, oh, they got swag. It's just not. It's like weird. They don't want to showcase it that much. You know what I'm saying?
Not yet, but they're young.
Not
But
yet.
they
But
were
that's what I'm saying.
showcasing it,
Like
yeah, last year. It's
that is like
happening.
yeah, because now they're allowing the bat flips or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, let's
Yeah.
do that.
Hey
And
man,
try to change it up to where like all right, let's lower the pitch count.
They're trying to make
So
their
it's like
little improvements, man.
so this kind of veers into where I do kind of agree with Mookie is like for some reason I think like if you attach yourself to hip hop culture or that culture, it's gonna blow up worldwide in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because we talked about this. That's where the majority of dude. Like I'm laughing because when we were off, I was talking about a friend who I met up with, and they lived in Kansas. Like, well, they're at Missouri, right? And her daughter, like, you know, uh, white girl, whatever, living in Missouri, and I'm like, oh, who you listen to right now? Who's your favorite artist? She's like Tupac. And I'm like, girl, you're 16 years old, white, living in Missouri, and your favorite person, a musician, is Tupac, right? That's what I was thinking. It's not dishonor, but it was like, yeah, I really love gangster rap right now. I'm just sitting there like, and it makes me laugh because it's like that's how powerful that whatever it is about a certain culture. And I'm not trying to even like pat the back on, but a Black American culture for some reason tends to draw people in to watch whatever goes on. And if you add that with some of the Latino swag mixture, because that now if you're looking at the Latino swag, now of them got curly hair, but then the beard. but then they got like a swag or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like it's like a crossover between the two in a way, and they're killing it. But if you add that swag into more people, I feel like more people are gonna watch. And I feel the same way even with maybe even golf, you're gonna see more people watch, you know, when you throw a little bit of swag on it or whatever.
Hip hop
I don't know.
is the
I mean,
flavor of the culture, man.
do I sound like I'm just talking on my ass or something now?
I mean, we could be in some weird, like, this is only in our world type of thing, but
Yeah.
we can identify the idea that you could watch like a commercial on a dentist or something, and they'll use like a hip hop beat. That's just how
Yeah.
subtle it is now. Before, they used to be like, orchestras or piano music or, light jazz or something. But now that is like, I don't know, this is being watched, and majority of the music you're going to hear is going to be some form of, that. So that leads you to at least understand that whatever that is, it's permeated to like pop culture. This is embraced worldwide. This is the sound of, now. I don't know if it's the sound of the future, but it's been the sound of, nowish. And it's just crazy how it's just so ingrained into, pop culture. Like they're selling Haagen-Dazs or popsicles with, Sir Mix-a-Lot or one of them references, one of them hip hop, old school people. Boom, there it is,
Yeah.
95 South. I'm like, well, this is like a ice cream commercial. This is crazy. This one I have never been allowed before. Like, what is this?
And
But
now that's like the norm. Like, oh, go ahead. Here he goes. Right. Like
yeah,
it was weird. It's so weird. I was watching Miss Marvel, right, which is a show on Disney Plus, and who doesn't sponsor us, so I might not sponsor that. And I'm watching it, and then they do like a Pakistani background or whatever. But in the show, you have Pakistani uh rappers. And it's just funny, like rap music has there was a thing that I was watching where there's like rap music has also became the music for the masses to talk about injustices throughout the world, you know?
true.
And it was like it to me just like sometimes, because we sometimes feel like we're Americans and we harbor all the cool stuff. So when we hear other cultures do it, we're like, what is this? This is weird.
Hmm.
But what they're really doing is just accepting what they enjoy about certain things and then making it theirs. It's kind of like food, right? Was the first person who made chicken be like, you can't have it,
That's what I'm saying.
here's
We
chicken,
are in the
here's chicken,
same.
try it out, right?
Man, whoever came up with Black American culture, that fool should get like his own, I don't know, like
It was
dollar or
I
something. He
actually
should be on
actually
the money.
I actually looked it up as Theodore Rufus the third.
Theodore Rufus.
Rufus the
What
third.
is Rufus the most associated name with any reference of black people prior to 1920 or something?
Probably, yeah. Hey, that's my cousin Rufus.
Okay, see, because I hear the name and I'm like,
I
that's such a
don't know.
common
I
name. Like,
don't
it's a
know.
funny
I
name.
don't know. I don't know. I'm
You
just
can't say
messing around.
Rufus and then be serious. You can't see like Denzel Washington as Rufus. And I mean,
As
maybe not. Maybe
Rufus.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
Denzel could flip that and make it hella cool. But usually it's something of you would laugh if you
I,
hear the name.
I was actually talking about my name the other day. I was like, because there's certain just names that go with a certain. Like you say Jerome's, like you're not going to see a white person named Jerome most of the time. It's rare. It's rare, you know. Like just like Dante DiVincenzo's like Dante. They used to call him White Dante, right? It's like you don't see a lot of Dantes that are white, right? There's weird. It's weird how like a name gets associated with just a group. Like, hey, that's it. You're no one else can have it, right? So as I said that, I was like, man, really, I don't know. There's like rare that you see white people with the name Marcus.
Mark, but yeah, no, Marcus.
Yeah, I was like, no, yeah, it's like all of a sudden, oh, too many Marcuses that are black. We can just call it so Mark. I'm gonna cut it off. I'm just joking around, but it's not.
Maybe
I
who
don't see
knows?
I don't see it often, right? And it's like rare. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just rare. And I'm like, I don't really see because every time I watch a show, and for some odd reason, every time I watch a show like a movie and there's a black dude that's kind of awkward, the guy's name is Marcus. It's like Marcus, darling. Think about Boomerang. His name was Marcus, right? Then you watch Bad Boys. Then you have Martin Lawrence's character is Marcus. You know,
Oh, okay.
there was another
Okay.
show I was watching on HBO. And the guy's name was Marcus Williams or something. I was like, what's going on? Like,
Interesting.
I was like, is Marcus like associated with black people? But I'm only saying that like as I don't know all the Marcuses, but it's just like and what time did that become the norm? And you know, like you see, like at one point in the mid '90s, or when we started to become 25 or whatever, you started seeing people come into the NBA call with or Tra, right? Like DeAndre,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
LeAndre,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
LaMelo,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
DeMarcus, you
Yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
D'Angelo,
When was Marcus created? I mean,
Ryan, the
yeah.
John,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden it was the La or Truz on it. And we used to joke around about that a couple of years ago, and so there's like a name convention that goes with certain type of particular eras.
Oh, that is interesting. Marcus era. I mean, Marcus Aurelius.
I know that, I mean, like, and like I said, because most people will say that, like, I'm just saying people like
But maybe
everybody's
he was
Marcus Aurelius
black
fan.
though.
I mean, you see his beard,
That's what I'm saying. That's curly
he
as
had
fuck. Oh, you got
I
a perm
mean,
in his
yeah,
beard? Like, what's he doing?
it was curly as fuck, man.
Yeah.
He probably talked to Barry White and got the natural juices and berries put into it,
I mean, they did have like grapes on their helmets and shit. Like, I'm like, oh, they
Exactly.
got
Had the
grapes everywhere
natural
and shit.
juices and berries.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. It's a joke, but it's real though. No, yeah, the era of Marcus, that is interesting. Names are just fascinating in general. One, it's like
Yeah.
where they come from, the origin, its meaning, the power. It's just that is funny though. I had never noticed that. But I assume everybody does that because I remember that too when characters are named like Ryan. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but
Well, like for a while, I feel like in the mid '80s, right? Like, so I'm surprised there's not more Michaels, right? When
mm.
when in the '80s you had Michael Jackson, Michael J. Fox, Mike Tyson that were like
Ha,
running it.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
did I not say him?
oh, yeah, I
Oh
think you
yeah.
did.
Okay. No, and maybe I didn't. Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, and Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Michael Jackson. Did I say it?
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe I
Michael
said
Jackson. Oh, yeah, no, I don't know. Well, yeah, there you go. You said it now.
Jordan, Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Uh, well, anyway, I feel like I'm forgetting one. But anyway, like you had the era of Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
actually, it's four. Yeah, it's Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Michael J. Fox, and then Michael Jackson. So those are, yeah. So like you had the era of Michael in the '80s that ran it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. You might have a point there. That is, yeah, that is. How did things become trend like that? Like, is that something they float out? Like, I always think about, like, I always think like it's just an experiment. That's an interesting experiment because as you're saying that, I'm trying to think like I'm pretty sure there's a stats about this somewhere, just like common names or names boom, a name boom during this era. Like, what?
Yeah,
How does that even happen? Like, how do people even? How do you even know? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Like that's the weird thing about like stereotypes or whatever goes on. Is there like a bat signal? Is there like a Filipino council that gets together? Is like, hey guys, guess what, guys? We're now going to name our kids Ryan, John. We're going to give them definitely biblical names. There's going to be two names, right? Ryan Paul, or John Paul, or biblical term in there,
Why
because
is that?
like even your brother, I was like thinking about this earlier today. Was like Amir, that's more of a Muslim based name, isn't it?
Oh, the mysteries of my brother's name are a million. I had no clue.
Amir.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know. When I think about history, the only reason why I'm so fascinated because I remember trying to figure out what I was, and that's what really sparked it. And to this day, it's still a mystery. But I try my best to try to find more. I could not know, and my brother's name just proves the whatever that is. Because I'm like, I the spelling's unique, and clearly it has ties to the original spelling or the first spelling Amir, and that
Yeah.
already has its own special meanings and all that. So I'm like,
Was your brother born in the United States?
in the Philippines.
Okay. This is why I wonder because I didn't know. I didn't know when I went to the Philippines that there's a large Muslim group. Like there's a huge Muslim group in Philippines, right? And I didn't
Oh,
know that. And so when I was thinking about it, I was like Amir, and I was just wondering like, was the association originally back from Muslim grounds? When did a Muslim group get there? Was it always there, or these are just I'm rambling, but there's just
Hey,
questions I
I
have.
had those questions all the time, man, because when I figured that out, and I believe I do have people I am associated with through blood that may or may not be of the, Muslim faith that live in, certain parts of the country.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, which I think is amazing. Muslim culture, to my understanding, is quite a peaceful culture. I'm big fans of famous Muslim people. I think when you realize it, at least the way that the stats provide, Muslim faith is the most practiced like in the world. That's
Okay.
that's not crazy. It's just with the Philippines, yeah, exactly. Actually, I think I came across information on how real it is, but they have the longest standing Muslim uh like whatever it is, like they were there for so long, because even when Spanish people came and invaded, they never took that territory, so they've been one of the more longer standing Muslim colonies, supposedly. I don't know, that's hundreds of years ago, but yes, there are a lot of Muslim people there. Is my brother
Yeah.
Muslim? Sometimes I
No.
think about it, sometimes who knows. Because I'm over
Right.
here with a mustache. There was a time me and him, my brother got together. He had like the beard going, and I had my mustache, and I had like a little head wrap I have, so I looked like a turban almost. And my brother's
Yeah.
name's Amir, and we're over here laughing and just cracking jokes. And I'm like, dude, if someone was like spying on us, they'd be like, yo, these dudes are dangerous. Like we
They're
need to stop these
they're
guys.
insurgents. They're
Yeah, for
insurgents right
real.
now, right?
Look at me,
They're
bro. I look
playing
like the
at
Sheik. I should have shoes that have pointy
yeah,
tips on them or
yeah.
something, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but
So,
it is interesting, the Muslim how do we even get onto Muslim? Like, where did that come from?
well, it was talking about names, and then I talked about your brother's name, and then
Oh
I said
yes, the names are, yes,
I
yes, yes.
wonder, yeah.
Yeah, because it's
So
reflective of the time, right? Time and space, time and area, depending on,
yeah,
it'll be reflective of that. That sounds like, oh, this is some weird social experiment. This is crazy. Kind of cool, actually, if you really think about it. We're really learning
yeah,
about ourselves right now. Like, it's almost like we're coming to the dawn of finding out all of this shit. It's inevitable. Like what you talk about. Like, yeah, you could get with the fact that, this shit might be all entertainment. And you know what? Good. Let's make it better and just accept it that way. I mean, that's maybe what's happening.
wouldn't the world be more fun that way though, instead of being so serious? I don't know. I
But
mean,
I think it's been that way for so long. I think people either have realized that or, not aware of it. But either way, the shit's entertaining. So that's why it's not all doom and gloom, because if you really look at it, you're like, this is some fascinating shit going on. Like you can look into anything either. If you're thinking sports, just look into sports. If you're into politics, do that. Cats, dogs. You could go into any little rabbit hole you want now and just kind of discover, whatever the world is. It's a strange place, but I think we're only learning that now. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Come on, man.
well,
I
there's
heard
always
this
been
shit. I heard this shit on Twitter. I was on Twitter, and then it was getting late, but uh, this lady in New Zealand, I think the prime minister, I don't know how real this is, but she was like, okay, everybody, if the news out there isn't our news, do not trust it. It is not correct. I was like, damn, but see, they've been trying to do that to us too, like the whole misinformation thing. Like, I'm like, man, what is going on? You know what
Speaking
I'm
of the
saying?
Philippines, they said there was a 7.0 magnitude earthquake strikes the northern Philippines, impactful to Manila.
When?
I just was on CNN. Says
Oh,
so. It
jeez.
says July 27th, which is based off of their time, 12:39 a.m. Eastern time. So, um, I guess wherever they're at, it's almost a day ahead because the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
So
man.
yeah,
Oh man.
the only thing I think was like earthquakes, tsunamis now because I don't. When I was younger, I didn't really think anything of it, but now it's like these tsunamis be getting hit by. Is everything all right? Or like
Oh yeah, that's pretty far up there. Earthquakes are fascinating. I don't know what those things are. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're strange. I know that. I'm trying to like I'm on this little kick of trying to figure out like, natural disasters and trying to come up with a alternate, theory on what they could be aside from what they tell
It's
us.
a, it's a, it's a. I mean, I've seen this movie called The Eternals, and it's just the eternal waking up from its slumber.
What
it's
is
a,
the
it's
eternal?
a. You never seen that? You never seen that movie Eternals, Marvel? Oh, so the idea of it was right. Like, you have these beings that are protecting the Earth, right? And
Mm.
they're protecting the Earth, but they find out later on that they're actually machines that were made by these things called Celestials. And what they do is they protect the Earth so Earth can grow and overpopulate, and the natural energy that we create help give the celestial body power to grow. And so what they do is they infect a seed into like a plant that has living form, and then once it gets enough body or energy from the bodies of humans and living life, then it grows into a celestial, and that world just gets destroyed.
Mm.
And so the joke is when you hear like violent earthquakes, is because it's imagine kind of like a bird cracking from its shell, you know what I'm saying, or any, I guess, living thing. Because now you think about it, we have an egg, a sperm, and then we grow into it and crack from that shell into a being, you know. But
I've heard of that. I could relate. I haven't seen the movie, but your description reminds me of something I've heard about the idea of what earthquakes might be. I don't know where it's from, but it's kind of like you said, like maybe something, cracking or opening. I've heard
mhm.
somebody say that that's associated with like very high nutrient, high, like very, like you would almost say supernatural stuff that comes out from that. And it's almost beneficial or good to be around stuff like that because you get it like right from the source. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a whole new disbursement of, you know, fantastic shit again, even though it's all chaos, but what's being released from the earth is a whole, you know, richness of stuff. And that's why the Philippines, I mean, every year they're always, susceptible to this because they live on, as they say, whatever the fault line is, which I don't know what that really means, but it is fascinating how the whole ring of fire and that whole thing, like the fault lines. I'm like, okay, if I'm alternative thinking, then that has to be maybe, maybe some weird resource or energy source around that to
Mhm.
cause these things because or some natural formation, underneath all that. Something like that because I'm just trying to think of it differently because I don't know if I really buy the whole Earth magma crust, all that nonsense, just because it's too far, it's too deep. I was like, nah, man. Once I figured out 7 miles deep was the farthest we went, I was like, how the fuck do we know there's a little circle of sun down there with all these layers if we never went down that? You know what I'm saying? Like that far.
Yeah.
Baffled by that. I was like, I can't agree with it. So now I'm trying to rethink just natural disasters. Like, what are
So
they?
you'd be more okay if people just say I don't know, opposed to
Yeah.
giving guesstimations based off of stuff.
I mean, you could give me kind of, whatever the book idea is, which, whatever it is, depending on the field of study, but it's more or less generally the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just say, I don't know, I was like, okay, cool. So that means, you know, you're willing to at least entertain a different thought. And it could be all entertainment, but it's fascinating to me because those things are real. Like even living in California, we felt an earthquake here, even though it might have been in the Bay Area. We get the effects here. And what they
Mm-hmm.
say about Sacramento is, we're in the valley and we're kind of surrounded by higher elevation things. So in the case that something crazy happens, we could get, flooded in or some type of shit like that. I'm like, that's definitely a thing. So what was it before? Because I'm to believe now, I'm thinking, okay, then Sacramento must have been underwater at some point. And then I look it up and like in the early 1900s, Sacramento was underwater for like, I don't know, like 2, 3 years. Like old Sac, there's
Mm-hmm.
people like on rowboats and the water's up to like the mid level. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Shit like that. I'm like, damn, how come we never hear about this? Especially if you're going to school, it would be cool to know kind of history of the place you live at, as opposed to like here, all these people from, Eastern Europe.
Okay. And our school history got destroyed. We don't even know the truth behind that, and only us would have to tell people where the true Butler's at.
See, they trying to delete us from the game.
Well, what I'm getting at is like sometimes the history, right? Like sometimes you have to talk to the people that lived there very long, the elder people who are now passing away. That they was like, so what happened here really? No, see, what happened here was this, right? You know,
Yeah.
that's what they sound like because it could sound like anything.
Mm-hmm.
But what really happened here was many years ago there was a dust bowl happening, and then right there's blah
Mm-hmm.
blah the Great Rain of 1952 or 14 or something like that, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we flooded. And then
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't have aqueducts or whatever, blah, 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 we created aqueducts and then we made this thing called Natomish.
That's
Because
so.
that's, you know, like, because Natomish is supposed to be like a flood zone, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like big fears now that we don't have any water. Because also, they talk about like certain places in now, depending on if you believe it or not, certain places that were desert used to be thriving in water and life. Is where some people theorize in certain areas.
I've heard of
You know what I'm
that.
saying?
I've heard of
You
that.
know,
Yeah. I've heard of it. Yeah.
especially the ones that don't have like sand. It's like more clay.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
You
Arizona
know
and
what I'm
shit.
saying? Yeah,
Mm.
it's like it used to thrive within the water, evaporate or whatever. Which is, I mean, I can go into other stuff because I also heard like, you know, there's like, you know, there's this talk about food shortages going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're having food deserts, food shortage, and whatever. And then I saw someone post that how the certain states are trying to slow people from farming, right? And
Mm.
so, depending on what theory you think, people are thinking like they're trying to create famine for us, right? But then I had talked to another friend that we both know was talking about how the soil of the earth is fucked up because of we don't let it to replenish itself. Like like when you don't let certain things happen to the soil itself and you're constantly farming on it, right? It's taking away its natural soil and the land is fucked up. And that's what's also causing part of the dehydration, drying or whatever is over farming.
Mm. Mm.
So it just depends on which side you know you choose to believe, you know. I don't I mean obviously we can't I don't know how much we can trust the government completely, but
Oh, fuck the government. I think that I think you're right. Or one of your friends is. I think they're both right in the idea that they're trying to take away farming and trying to create famine. I think famine's the most extreme, but they're definitely trying to put us in a position where they're going to dangle food in front of us, possibly, and we got to like jump through hoops to get it now to
mm-hmm.
some degree. You know what I'm saying? It's a possibility in its worst case. The other side of it, well, we're not allowing the soil to replenish. Um, we are using a lot of resources just to farm this much food. And I agree because that is happening, especially in California. Unfortunately, these are humongous farms. We've gotten to the point where California produce, we're providing produce uh, not only to this state but to a lot of other states. Our stuff's being trucked out. We're trucking stuff in. You know what I'm saying? You go to the produce market, you see shit coming from all parts of the countries. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I think what is missing, at least from what I understood, I follow like this farmer guy from time to time on YouTube. Um, not that long ago, most people used to just live on farms.
Mm-hmm.
Like families just lived on farms, like Little House on the Prairie, that whole shit. Like everybody just used to live on farms, so they knew how to live off the land, or their community was really small, but maybe someone would just be raising cattle or do some trades, but for the most part everybody just lived off the land. You have a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
then they help you on the land, and then it just keeps on going. And then you'll have that little schoolhouse, the little house that's near the neighborhood. It's just like a couple rows, and then it's just a small classroom. That was I guess the idea back then. And then all of a sudden shit just hella changed, where all right, institutionalized, bigger communities, more population. Okay, come in. Okay, we do the groceries for you. Or, you just kind of cut off that idea of
Remember
being
many
self
years,
sustained.
many moons ago, the natives used to like they used to be nomads, right? They would farm for the time being, and then they'll get up and let that replenish, go somewhere else, and then farm. Remember, there's a certain set of Native Americans that would do that. Do you remember hearing about that?
I've heard about this, yes.
Right, or they'll get up, boom, we'll go somewhere else, and kind of let the land heal itself for the time being, and then they'll come back during certain seasons or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
And
Yeah, we don't
and,
we don't do
and
that. Yeah.
it's actually funny because like I was just partial things. I was like, because I have a bigger backyard, I was like, I really need to just start farming my own stuff. And then when I was at meeting up with my friend that I haven't seen in years, her aunt and uncle, like they grow their own food in the backyard, and they were doing aquaponics, which is different than hydroponics, right? Or it's either aquaponics or hydro. But it's aquaponics, which is what you're doing is you're using fish and you're using the poop from the fish to fertilize
Mhm.
the food, which was very interesting. I was like, okay,
Yeah, I've heard of this. This is a growing trend amongst people who are trying to self-sustain.
mm-hmm.
I think it's smart. I think more options the better. I think both exist. Like I said, I think the key point for me, in my opinion, is to get away from big farming in general. Just get
Yeah,
away from having to rely because we go to grocery stores, try to get the best deals. Hence why it makes a demand for bigger companies to consume bigger companies. So you can get a wholesale price, but there's a lot of shortcuts there. A lot of land, a lot of runoff. Um, you know, Varying opinions on it. I think it's just better suited to a little more of a smaller operation. You don't necessarily have to run a farm, but at least, learn, the basics or just understand it and how it all works and, shit like that. And just kind of working diet. I think, I'm always talking on my other pod about like the nutrition ladder and I think everybody eats differently, and I think more people should, explore their different habits because I don't think we're supposed to be eating as much as people do, in relation to physical activity. That's just a general theme. I think because traveling to different places, you see a lot of different, just cultures, and America definitely has that situation where there's an abundance of food options, food everywhere. Food's just like
which is the weird part, right? Like on the
everywhere.
flip side, is like, so this is. I mean, I'm not trying to say the government does this or not. This is the thing about in America, right? You're damned if they do, right? You have too much, we're abundance, we're fat, we're obese, we don't know how to control ourselves. Then there's like, let's hold back on the food, we're overabundance, we're using up the soil. They're trying to create famine. You know what I'm saying? when in reality, there's been like you said, like there's been showing like America, we're usually considered way more obese than most other countries.
Mhm.
And a lot of it too has to do with the preservatives and the sugars and stuff that we have in
That
it.
was just in our era. That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago. Like we just happened to grow up in that era, and the era before, just didn't pass that down, or whatever happened to moving people inland. But this is a trend that I've seen in different countries, especially like I've seen that in the Philippines. That's kind of happening where a lot of people from the countryside are being pushed in for, natural factors or lack of work, lack of resources, whatever it is. Like it seems like it's by design. Because what
Mm.
ends up happening is like, okay, vacated, big business comes in or government comes in or both and
So
just start buying
whoop.
up land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at
So
the
whoop.
fucking fucking
Oh, I'm
easy
sorry, family.
prices.
Blah blah blah. Yeah. Yeah. Now we get it at a price, and
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna feed you guys.
now we're
Yeah.
gentrifying your town of everyone, but mainly the minority, the people who
Yeah.
can't afford it.
I mean it's more of a class thing. It's not necessarily like a racial thing. It's interesting because there is something going on. I don't know what my
Well,
family. I don't
I
know what it
believe
is.
that, but it's definitely weird when class and race tend to clash together, right? When there's a certain when there's a certain race of people who tend to not be in that class, and even when they are in that class, they're still sometimes looked lower than.
Hmm. That's true.
So I think yes, class your finance in your class matters more, but I also think that there's trailing effects of being a certain culture of it. Like think this for a minute. Now, granted, this is a different country, but how even in certain Asian cultures, right, you have some that seem to be more imperialistic, more holy. Like I want to say Japanese are usually, I guess, tend to, from my understanding, tend to be like the more noble, the more whatever, right? And then there's levels of how that falls, and let alone like even if it wasn't necessarily just race with the Asian culture or the different, but even the skin texture, right? If you are a lighter porcelain skin, you are looked to be more at that at one point deemed to be more desirable because you're not an outside worker. You're, I mean, I used to have when I was doing dialysis, I would have nurses say, yeah, they would look at the darker ones, darker Filipinos, less than the ones that were lighter. So, I think it's, I mean, because I'm not going to sit here and say it's only black or whatever, but a race or Mexican. But I won't take that away and say that doesn't have a factor to it. You know what I'm saying? That's not the piece. It's not. It's just not the whole puzzle. If that makes sense. That's not the defining puzzle.
Yeah, there is something inherited that with certain cultures, especially, Asian cultures, there is some kind of stigma with darker skinned people. I've definitely, come across or seen. It's strange because that bit of information gets out. You may or may not have ever witnessed it or, experienced it, but it is something that, you do see. It does show up in, like the difference between people in the audience versus people on stage type of situation, like with certain types of programming that they have on TV for them. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, same thing. Like, yeah, other Asian cultures, light skinned, it's a big thing. That is strange, and I don't know if that's inherited, learned.
I mean, it's even in black culture, right? Like what I'm saying is
Oh
like
yeah, like light skinned
your
black dudes.
the lighter skinned people are usually just turn to be prettier, cooler, house Negroes or whatever.
Okay, how about this?
So
Do Africans do that to each other?
that part I don't know. That part
Ah,
I don't know.
interesting. White people, do they do that to each other? Like, is there a hierarchy? Like, oh, you Guinea, or you uh Irish, or you redhead, or you
Well, well, well,
brunette, you raven.
well, well. I would say at one point that was the case. Supposedly, according to the history, was if you weren't a certain white, you were an indentured servant when you came into America.
Oh,
So it
really?
was like a form of it was a form of slavery. Because I want to say that's part of the reason why Italians and Irish started to create more mobs and groups.
Because
They're
they were
mafia type
the
group. They're gangs because they were considered the lower class. You know,
oh,
and whatnot. But what happens too is that because they're less, they can blend in more, right, than people of color, right? That's the thing. But um, as far as blacks and like Africans, what they do, I don't know. I don't know the history on that either.
I would like to know. I like to know every country. But I could agree with you, at least from my experience, in how the Philippines is, uh, you know, kind of presented in what I see. I would, err on the side that that probably seems more likely. Um, yeah, that is strange. Yeah, I don't know if that's learned or not. I'm curious.
Hmm.
I feel like we're more confused because it doesn't seem as homogenous as I think, or they make it seem to be. It doesn't seem like we're all the same. It's like for instance, like Filipino people, right? When I was out there, I was like, yo, I've seen like what? This is a strange place because these are all the same type of people, but from every island, it was like, yo, everybody look kind of different, like different dialect, different, be
Yeah,
looking
there's like a
different.
thousand or whatever they say or
Yeah,
something.
I'm like, is this supposed to be one people? I was like, wait. And then I started thinking about other, cultures, other, places I've at least visited just to kind of really think about it. I'm like, oh no, there's like way more diversity. There's like diversity within the diversity of the diversity. You know that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
okay.
I mean, used to do that with like Black Americans. Like I look at, I look at like what causes people to have. I mean, obviously it's mixing of race, but then I look at like people in certain towns, right? So
Mm,
you go to Louisiana because it's a mixture of French. You have the what is it, mulatto people, but
mhm.
then you're using like either you have the Creole light skin look, right, or the French Creole look. Then sometimes in certain parts of New Orleans because of the melting pot. Then you got the really dark. then I look at Alabama, right? And Alabama has like this whole like, strong dark skin gene, but then my family comes from there, which is lighter. Now, granted, you got to factor in, well, where did that come from? Most likely slave owners passed down. Because you have some lighter people from Alabama as well. But then when I look at some black people, I'm like, okay, the hair structure and skin structure, the nose structure, like it is fascinating. The only people that I would say that are very defined are from, I would hate to say, from the original source, right? You could like, and even then, right? Even then, let's say you go to Africa, right? Then you're like, well, Ethiopian people look different than people from, I just lost my, Nigeria, right?
Mhm.
Like different look to the skin, how they go across stuff. And it's like, okay, like Ethiopians, I want, if I could be wrong, I want to say, I just want to clarify because I don't
No,
want
Ethiopians look different.
to. Ethiopians look more
Middle
like
Eastern,
the Middle Eastern, but the skin texture is more like black people,
Puerto
like kind of like
Rican,
me,
like
kind of like
Cubans and
me.
shit.
But then,
Yeah.
but then I have like the eyes that are a little bit different,
Oh
more
yeah, yeah,
pronounced
yeah.
eyes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, like almost like they have like they were mixed, but it's like it's like I have dark coffee, but then I put a little bit of cream in there. That's what they're like,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it's so many different types. And when I started thinking about that, I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of diversity. It's just, but a lot of people aren't aware of what that possibly could be, the intricacies of these different types of groups. Because it's like so, I'm I'm to think that America is just a whole bunch of tribal cultures, all different
Mhm.
types of colors. Like we was already here. That's what I'm thinking. Or like there was a bunch of like Indians, which I'm thinking are Mexicans, Filipinos, Asians, all kind of clumped in.
Yeah,
That's all one. And then black people, which I'm thinking is a whole bunch of other, black tribes put together. And then white people, who was a whole bunch of other white people all put together. But they was all living as one, united probably, living on earth like it was cool.
dude.
And then they had to sell war on us like, oh no, we really hate each other. We don't hate each other like that. Like,
I,
why are they doing that to us?
I always said that Indian people from India are just black people with straight hair. I'm like,
I
hey,
mean,
I got
some of
this
them you
part.
see is, yo, you have a
I
point, dude. They look close to like Inuits or Pacific Islanders, but you go into that story, you're like, yeah, that's a whole mix of people. Like we've been intermingling this entire time. Like some, but you could admit that there are, kind of 3 to 4 different singular groups that probably a lot of people come from, or a
yeah,
combination of those things. And so then that leads you to believe it's like, yo, we're not homogenous, man. There's a different story that's being told. And I'm of the belief that, yo, we was all natives. You know what I'm saying? We was all doing dancing and song and singing and, sharing in bounty and living in harmony and peace. You know what I'm saying? Like there must have been something like that. And it wasn't that long ago. But for whatever reason, we lost all that knowledge and we're kind of just have amnesia about shit. And somebody's trying to tell us something. And we're like, yeah. But deep down, you're like, that don't make no sense though.
yeah.
But whatever. I guess there's no alternative. That's why I'm like, nah. I'm more of exploratory, trying to, casually look into, man, what is all this shit? What am I really? You know, I look at those things. I,
Human.
I think about first names. I think about last names, where the place is. I try to look through it through food exploration. I look at people who, you know, regular history documentaries, just kind of get any intel I can and just make my conclusions from there. But there's a lot more similarities around the earth than there are differences in a lot of ways. And you could attest to that too. You've been in seen a lot of places. You'll touch down and you'll kind of get acclimated more or less pretty quick because you're like, oh, it kind of has the same vibe of certain things, nothing too far off. They have like a little town center, got their little
Well,
market
yeah.
and shit.
What
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh, this is like
when
everyday
I was
life
in the
shit.
Philippines, like most kids are the same,
Exactly.
right? Like
Yeah.
kids want attention, and most kids want to joke around and laugh. And
Same.
somewhere down the road, and honestly, I think most people want to, but somewhere down the road, right? We get bitter by life and say we can't be a certain way. You know,
Mhm.
I was actually I'm bringing this up because it was yesterday when I met my friend's kids. The youngest one's about maybe 9 or so, And then I said something. I was like, "Oh, that's lit," or blah blah blah, joking around, and just being serious. Like she's like, "Oh, I see. You're one of those old people that want to be cool and young." And I was just like, "Well," I was like, "Yeah." I joked around. I was like, "Well, I have no kids, so it keeps me young."
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? I like why like because isn't it funny to think about like how we all of a sudden like and I'll definitely say you probably when you start to have a kid you started to mature and act a little bit differently faster.
oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
before when you didn't have that responsibility the same way, life was still. I mean, you still had a responsibility, but it was just it was. I would probably say it was you're having fun.
Oh, way different. Yeah, way different.
Right? And so when I don't have kids and I can spend my money on whatever I want or do whatever I want and go into my hobbies, why am I not laughing or staying young or staying youthful?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's true. Kids is gonna be kids, man. They hate us. That's cool. I'm like, y'all gonna go through whatever y'all gonna go through. We already did
Yes,
that
that's
game. We out
true.
here living our best life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Good
I
luck
remember
being broke.
one of my friends' daughters was like, I don't trust adults. I'm like, you're stupid. You're gonna be an adult soon.
Yeah.
So sooner or later you can't trust
I mean,
yourself.
shit, I'm pretty sure I said some stupid shit like that too.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's funny. It's like, yo, you're gonna go through the experiment too. Good luck.
yeah, okay.
We're out here getting, fucking dealing with this shit. So good luck with yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna live my life. Because it's funny because it's pop culture. You know what I'm saying? Kids think it's exclusive. You got to think like this. You're like, the fact that I said it, you are uncool.
Yeah.
That's what you should have said. You're like, oh, you think that? Oh, because I'm trying to be something. If I know it and I'm hip to shit, and you think that shit's so cool, you should be ahead of me already. The fact that you know what we're on the same page, you behind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. You behind. Come on now.
yeah, exactly. You know how that was when you was young and you saw somebody wear like old dude try to rock some pennies or something. You're like, oh, duh, I ain't wearing that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In
Or
the
like a
trash.
Dada Supreme shirt. You're like, oh, that brand just lost all respect. Oh no, oh no, that
Have you
dude
ever
old. I can't be wearing that.
yeah. I'm probably gonna let's end it because I have some questions on to
Oh
ask. I'll
yeah,
say
yeah, you're good. You're good.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Sky
Sky
high.
high, 7,072.
Yes.